And especially property. Beware with property. If someone's like, oh yeah, properties are going up and I'm going to buy endless amounts of property and it's always going to grow and look, we've made $100,000 every single year. Like, beware, red flags. It can't keep going up forever. Hello and welcome back to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast. I'm Tash and I'm here with Anna, and today we're going to do a fun Q&A and just run through a heap of questions really quickly. But first, money win or money loss?
I've got a money loss. My child turned 6, and for those people,
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, money loss. No. The money loss isn't the birthday. It's that if you have 2 kids and they're in childcare, if your child turns 6, the additional childcare subsidy ends for your second kid. So what that essentially means, yeah, very confusing, I know. So we have like a childcare subsidy that you get based on your income, but if you have 2 kids, your second kid gets a bigger subsidy until 6. So if your first kid or your eldest kid turns 6, that subsidy then goes back to the regular price instead of the more subsidized price. Is that confusing?
It's just like, why? I understand the government doesn't want to pay that much money, but like, why shouldn't it just be until they start school?
Yeah, well, essentially that is like the cutoff, right? Like ideally you'd be at school. So my child is at school now, but they didn't turn 6 until now. And so now I have to pay a higher price for my second child, which I shouldn't complain about. I'm glad that I got
your second
subsidized.
child still going to childcare somehow and school? How does that work?
No, not my second kid. My first kid's in school.
Oh.
I know. It's like, so anyone who's listening and who's like thinking of having kids, the childcare subsidy is confusing AF. Like very confusing.
It's too much. It doesn't need to be that confusing.
But the point of the story is now I don't get as high of a subsidy for my second kid as I used to. And I'm like, wah, wah. So we used to be like around like 80 something. And now it's more like 50
80%?
Something. Yeah. Subsidized.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a loss, but also at least I have like just one kid. Like,
yes, yeah, at least I'm paying hundreds for both of them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very confusing, but it's something that people don't often think about, especially when your kid turns 6, because there are so many rules around the childcare subsidy.
I don't know how they're expecting your parents to be able to navigate all those rules. I feel like the expectation is too high.
Yeah, I have a course about this. Yes. So hit me up if you're interested.
Let's reform the government, please.
Yeah, there's a lot we could change. Anyways, that was my loss, but also it's all right. What about you, Tash?
Money win. I'm going to a wedding in Vietnam next year and I booked my flights ahead of time, which is fun. I booked them recently.
How much ahead of time did you book them?
The wedding's in March and it is the end of October now. So 6 months or something, which is good because I've been leaving all things to the last minute a lot recently because I don't want to commit and decide too far in advance. But they were only $600 return with like little domestic flights as well, which is pretty good.
Did you use points?
No.
Yeah. I was just looking at flights to Canada too, and they seem quite cheap. And I was like, oh, should I wait like closer to the date or just get them now?
Just get them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Once they're on special, just get them.
Just do it. Yeah. That's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
And have fun. Vietnam was, been wanting to go there for a while. I haven't gone. Yeah.
I wonder if the government's subsidizing flights there or something, because I feel like there's some really cheap ones. I saw Perth to Vietnam for $140 with bags.
What? That's so cheap. Oh,
yes.
Oh my.
Not for me though. Oh well.
Next time.
I got some interesting questions in my question box on Instagram the other day. The first one, thoughts on Kangen water. Do you know what that is?
On which?
Kangen water.
I don't know what this is.
Kangen. It's like an MLM water filter thing.
Oh.
Yes.
Gotcha. I need to look this up.
They're like $4,000 or something from memory, and it's an MLM, I'm pretty sure. On Reddit, someone was saying it was $3,500 2 years ago. So my thoughts are probably not worth it. If it's an MLM and it's $4,000, there are cheaper water filters that you can buy.
Here's the big thing. I've gone down the water filter rabbit hole. So anyone who knows, I am deeply like obsessed with trying to reduce PFAS and chemicals in water.
This one is $6,787 though. Like this is an insanely priced water filter. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no. So there is a lot of technology that does and does not work when it comes to water filtering. So it really depends on what you're water filtering. So I don't know about this brand specifically. I haven't come across them, but it's something to definitely be cognizant of. And the other thing is if you are trying to reduce your plastic intake, for example, in your water, which is a huge reason why people are filtering water anyways, is it in a plastic container? Like is the water? Yeah, so. Like that's the big question that I would ask. But yeah, water filtering isn't cheap, but
I think it's the whole thing is that you're meant to get the specific pH of water or whatever. And it's being sold as this big health thing. And like, I don't really know the science behind it and I don't know if it's worth it at all, but I just think it's a really, really, really expensive price. And because of the business model where it is an MLM, I don't love it. And I think there is probably better alternatives if you are looking to filter your water in some way. And to be clear on why you're filtering it too. Is it the pH? Is it plastics? Is it, you want to get fluoride out of the water or whatever happens to be in our water these days.
Yeah. And sometimes you get really fatigued by doing all this research. Like I was looking at reverse osmosis systems and like the stuff isn't cheap, but there's a difference of whether you want to have one that's outside of your house. So it filters all your water, but then it goes through all of your pipes that aren't clean. Or do you want it right at the tap because it's for drinking water? Or do you need it for anyways, the list goes on. I would do more research instead of just jumping on the bandwagon of a specific brand that is being advertised to me.
Yes. I've been wanting to buy Thermomix for years, and that is only like less than $3,000. And I've been sitting on this for like literally years thinking about it. And I know we shouldn't spend like all that time thinking about these things, but Thermomixes are part of an MLM as well. So I'm being very cautious and I'm not sure if it's worth it. And I'm going to wait and see until I really, really want one. And I think if a water filter is going to cost you $7,000, like you should be thinking about it a lot longer.
And why are you getting that filter? What is the reason? What are you filtering? Are there other better options for you? Yeah, lots of questions there.
Good question though.
I love this question. It's great.
Yes.
I'll have to do some more research on that.
This is a question for you, definitely. What are your thoughts on financial activism and divesting from unethical banks and products?
Oh, I love this question. This is a long journey for me. This has been a long journey for me. So anyone who's interested in kind of like ethically investing or thinking about that, it is hard. It is really hard to divest because almost every institution is investing in specific things, whether that's weapons or like anti-climate change type thing. Like there's a lot to consider. So what I would suggest, if that's something that you're looking into, start with one piece. Like for example, look at your investments. What are you investing in? Are you happy with that? And then adjust that. Then potentially if you want to look at banks, who are the banks borrowing to? What are the companies they're lending to? Because that all kind of plays into that ecosystem. And then if you're able to find banks that align with your values, you can swap those over. Now it's harder if you have a mortgage because that's a whole other ball game, but it is possible to talk to brokers and be like, what banks align with my values, and do that. Lacey from the Money School has an amazing article on this about how she's started divesting a lot of her investments. And it's like a long process. It's like multi-day, multi-weeks. It takes a long time to do this. And this is something I've been trying to do for myself. I know at one point that I was investing in, my super was invested in sustainable ethical fund. But if you looked at the fine print, you realize that the equity, the shares and the investments were, sustainable. So they weren't in tobacco or
weapons,
but what they were borrowing. So all the bonds and the cash was being lent out to those companies.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's very, very challenging.
And it's very hard to find the information as well. Like if you see your super fund, it'll be like, you've got 30% Australian shares and this much in international shares and this much into like unlisted funds or whatever it is. So it's really hard to find that information. And I've had some people message me saying they've tried to call their super funds and they can't give them the answer. So
I did that.
Really tricky. Yeah.
I did that. Especially with the conflict in Gaza and in the Ukraine, I was like hitting up my super fund and being like, hey, can you actually give me a list of which of these companies are listed in Russia, in Israel, and so forth. And it was like impossible to get that information. So I had to like dive deep and look into that. And it's really challenging because ideally, I know that this is happening in the US and in Canada right now. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's essentially like you can invest in an ETF, but then divest a couple specific companies. And I would love investing to get to that point where you can be like, listen, I do want the S&P 500, but I don't want to, for example, invest in Tesla for XYZ, or I don't want to invest in whatever this company, and I can pull that out of that, because that should be the future of investing, being able to have actual control and be able to divest in the companies that you want to, or add ones where you're like, hey, listen, this wind company is doing really great for environmental reasons. I want to add them in. So whatever your ethics are, whatever your values are, it's probably going to be quite challenging.
Yes.
And a long time.
I think you can still invest in index funds or whatever, and then you can decide to put more money into a company that really aligns with you. Like maybe that's a good way to start with it, where you like the wind company, whatever it happens to be. So you buy maybe the S&P 500, you know it's not 100% the best, and then you decide to invest in those companies maybe that like the wind company. I think that might be a good way to start, because it is really, really hard. And the more you look, the more you're like, wow, this is done really interestingly. Is anything really ethical?
Because it's hard, right? Like we've had this conversation. Is Amazon ethical? Is
Telstra? Yeah. Optus? Is Optus ethical anymore?
I mean, like, are these companies ethical, right? It really depends on you and your needs. And the thing is, it's hard to take them out of a regular ETF unless you're planning to invest in all of these companies individually, which we don't suggest. So divesting is a challenge. It's possible to do it in the best way that you can for yourself. And I'm assuming as investing in money becomes more democratized and easier to access, that will change. Hopefully.
How do I report an unqualified influencer selling finance and property strategy advice?
Is that you, Tash? I'm just kidding.
No.
There's so many fake accounts out there. Please be careful, everyone.
Yeah. And not me, but I have seen a rise of property people selling their consulting sessions. Have you seen this?
No, not. You've mentioned it. Yeah.
Yes.
So what are you seeing?
So people who have done really well the last few years, obviously the market's been doing quite well and house prices are rising, which is good and bad for a lot of people, unfortunately. But there are some people who've had some success in the last few years who are now selling themselves as like experts who are helping people do the same. But I find this very interesting because they are using buyer's agents themselves.
So are you an expert just if you own property?
No,
Like what constitutes an expert when it comes to property?
It's hard with property because there's not these standard qualifications like there are with financial advice. Like you can become a buyer's agent fairly easily. Of course, there's some kind of qualifications you need to get and some kind of standards you have to meet, but it's not the same as a financial advisor. And it's a lot easier to become a mortgage broker or a buyer's agent, or there's like property investment people as well. And I think that's a different qualification, but it's trickier. So beware.
Yeah, beware. It is really challenging to find the right information for some of these financial products.
And especially property. Beware with property. If someone's like, oh yeah, properties are going up and I'm going to buy endless amounts of property and it's always going to grow. And look, we've made $100,000 every single year. Like beware, red flags. It can't keep going up forever.
Yeah.
As to where to report people, I don't know about for property people, but if it's unlicensed financial advice, look at ASIC. You can go to ARPRA. If it's misleading stuff, you can go to the ACCC. But it's not the easiest system ever to report people on.
It might be worth also working off of people you know and recommendations, or reaching out to people who are licensed to provide suggestions as well. So just because you're seeing things on social media, like everyone's posting, we're posting on social media, it's hard to kind of know what is true and what's not, what's actually licensed. So definitely make sure that you reach out to someone who's licensed who could potentially then recommend someone.
Yes. And if you're worried, you can also start that conversation because I think a lot of people aren't aware of licensing stuff as well. Like when I first started posting on social media, I had no idea. So you can also reach out to someone and say, hey,
what are your qualifications? Yeah. Not that hard to ask. Yeah, you totally can. Mm-hmm.
Good question.
All right, here's a question. Are Qantas points better than velocity or otherwise?
No. I think velocity is better at the moment because you can use them more often. I feel like Qantas points are really hard to use sometimes. Like you have to really wait for availability. It's really hard to book things last minute, but I find velocity is often good to book last minute flights to Perth. It was easier to book flights to Doha. I just feel like the availability is a little bit better.
It's hard because I have way more Qantas points than I have velocity points. And that's just because of Woolies, honestly.
Yeah. And Qantas flies to so many more places and they have way more partner airlines. So Qantas seems better on the surface. So you're like, yeah, I'd love to fly like business class to Canada or business class to wherever. But then
it's always more expensive.
And you can't just find the flights.
Yeah.
You've got to be waiting ready for them like a month before or whatever it is.
Yeah, because I'm always looking at Air Canada, which flies to Canada, and Virgin and Qantas both offer. But like Qantas is always way more expensive. And I'm like, wow,
interesting.
Why? Like what difference does it make? You're literally doing the same flight.
Yeah. I also find it easier to build status with Virgin and Velocity. So I am Velocity Platinum still. It did get a little bit harder. They changed the rules back in April, but I generally find it a bit easier if you're paying for flights anyway to just fly with Virgin and kind of keep with the Virgin ecosystem. But I do collect Qantas points too. And I'm still waiting to use my Qantas points, but it's hard.
But I think also at the end of the day, if there's one that is just more convenient, maybe potentially stick to that as well. You know what I mean? Like for example, like I've got way more Qantas points. I go to Woolies, like that's just, I'm in that ecosystem more so than I am in the other one. So instead of being like, I'm going to try to do both, that's not going to really benefit you in many cases. It's better to maybe potentially stick with one.
Stick to one. And then once you build them up too much, and you're like, wow, I'm sitting on like 400,000 Qantas points. So then you could be like, oh, I'll start earning Velocity now instead and like alternate through them if you want. But it is easier to earn Qantas points because there's more partners, I find.
Yeah. And Tash, like we had this conversation on the phone the other day where I was like, oh, I have so many of these points. Like, should I like try to save up so I can get like a good business class and try to get the whole family? Or do I just use them up as they come in? And I think you said to me, you're like, just use them. Just use them.
Because they do value them, like they did recently as well. So you should use them. And it is hard to get the availability. So if you see availability of something that is good value, then
just do it. Yeah. Even if it's a short haul instead of a long haul and you're like, oh, this might not be good value, just do it.
I did randomly get really good flights that I had to cancel with my Qantas points to Costa Rica.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. So and then work got too busy and life happened and I had to go to a funeral, so I cancelled it instead. But I did enjoy that you can cancel and get all your points back minus 6,000 up to 24 hours before. So cancellation is great. But that was a very unique situation. I was very shocked that somehow they had rewarded flights from Melbourne to Costa Rica.
Yeah,
return
that's
with
great.
points. Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever get that again, but
Oh,
it was there
well,
once.
guess what? You're going to Vietnam. So
Yes.
yeah.
I don't think it matters though. Like if you're stuck on Velocity versus Qantas, just pick one, I think. And then you'll dive into the world and then you'll decide if it's worth it or not. Because you can always like exchange it for gift cards or exchange it for hotel nights or something like that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You don't have to use them for flights. There's so many other things you can use them for. As long as you're kind of, I think like one of the things we've talked about is as long as you're kind of thinking of them as a bonus, like you're not spending the money like one for one to be like, I have to get these points, but they're like a bonus on the side because you already have that credit card or you're already shopping at Woolies or Kohl's or whatever that might be.
Good advice.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Next question. Going from one kid to two and growing your family. Oh, okay. So I think a lot of people think it's a huge shock going to like one kid because you have a loss of income, you have an increase in expenses, and it's like you have another little human to look after.
Going from one kid or going to two kids?
From 0 kids to 1 kid.
0 to 1. Yeah. Okay.
That's like a big jump for a lot of people.
That seems like a big jump.
It is a huge jump. Like all of a sudden you're adjusting. But in those first like year or bit, you just have like this little blob that you're carrying around. They don't cost too much. But when you go to 2 kids, I think it feels really drastic. Like at least I thought that. And the reason is because now you're juggling like 2 little humans. And if you have childcare, or now I'm in a situation where I've got like childcare in school, right? And you're doing like 2 drop-offs and there's a lot of considerations. And my first one was like a good sleeper and a good eater and like good temperament. My second one's a little terror, but I, love them very much.
I wonder if that's the first and second child thing because my mom said the same about me and my sister where I slept through the night really quickly and I was very pleasant and my sister had more of a personality than me maybe.
Yeah. Are you saying you have no personality?
No,
Tash?
I just think I was a nicer child.
Yeah. And some people are the flip, right? Some people have like a horrible experience with their first. And I think at the end of the day, kids are just different, and that was like the big shocker for me being like, oh my God, my kids look different. They don't even look like siblings. They act different. Like they're just completely different temperament. But when it comes to finances, there is a lot to consider because now you're juggling 2. I think I talked at the beginning of the show about the childcare subsidy, like just learning all of the ins and outs of that. Depending on if you're willing for your kids to have hand-me-downs, that's a real big benefit where you can save some of that money. But when it comes holistically, like the biggest thing that I would be thinking about is also your career in that time. And if they're close together, it can be kind of hard if you have been in the workforce and then you've taken some time out for your first child, and then you go back and you're potentially at part-time. A lot of people are at part-time and they haven't gone back at full-time, and then taking time out of the workforce again. So that's really hard. I do know a lot of people who try to spend that time in between to maybe jump jobs. I did that actually by fluke. It wasn't like during my first parental leave, I ended up consulting at Perler and then ended up coming on full-time and then found out I was expecting. But the other thing that you can do is try to get a better job, try to get better pay, go to a company that also pays some parental leave and super on top of that. That's a huge one. There's a lot of big companies that are supporting that, and especially supporting care leave for the secondary parent as well. So in a lot of cases, the father or, the secondary parent. So being able to make sure that you have a better situation if you can, and just increase your pay if you can. Like that's the big one. I wish someone said to me before I had kids, before I was expecting, do what you can to climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, make as much money as you can, save as much money, invest as much money, and then take leave.
Oh, interesting. I feel like from an outside perspective, it seems like that is good advice. And it's interesting that it's not kind of like more common knowledge or a common thing that people are talking about as much. Like I know I've heard you speak about it, but yeah, it feels like when you look from an outside perspective, it's like, yes, you want to save as much money before you have kids and be prepared. But obviously life goes how life goes. And it might not always be that way.
But you might not be thinking about it. A lot of people aren't thinking about it. And here's the thing also with, I think, expecting parents. Like if you are wanting to fall pregnant, for example, if you're in a situation, so much of your mental time is around like, are you eating well? Are you doing well? Is your fertility okay? Are you going to an IVF clinic? Like there's a lot that is focused on that you're not focusing on the financial side of it. And then if you are expecting, if you're pregnant, you're so focused on the birth in those first 9 months. Like I remember like talking to friends and being really close to like, giving birth and being like, what do I do when the baby comes? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, do you play with it? Like, do you hold it? Like, it just dawned on me, like, I'm so focused on how I'm giving birth that I'm like, what do you do when
once it arrives?
Once it arrives, like legit, like I had no friends that had newborns. I was like, how much do they sleep? Like the books say a lot, but I really don't know, what do I do, right? Like you're just thinking about like, breastfeeding, nursing, like giving birth, and then the financial stuff. Yes, you're thinking about it, but you're not as obsessed because your body is going through a huge transformation. And anyone who's like listening who isn't planning on birthing, like it is support friends who are out there who are doing this, because it is like a crazy thing that happens to your body. So you're pretty focused on that. But the financial side of it, I was thinking about it before I was planning on having kids, but I just wish someone said like, go as hard and as fast in your career as humanly possible, because especially if you're a mother, you might hit the motherhood penalty, which means that your income, your opportunity, your retirement funds are going to do a nosedive for at least 10 years.
I've seen more and more about the birth rate dropping, and how a lot of that is on the cost of living. What do you think about waiting? Like, yes, you want to optimize how much money you make beforehand, but how much do you optimize before it starts getting too late, I guess? Like that seems to be quite a juggle at the moment with the timing of it for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a huge juggle. And as you get older, there may be more complications when it comes to giving birth as well. So waiting later can have complications from both sides. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think I was in that situation where I didn't meet my partner until my 30s, had I potentially met the right person, then that would have been different. But also I was like planning on doing it by myself if I didn't meet my partner. So that's why the financial side was coming into play, because I was very used to being single and traveling and being like, well, if I want to be a parent, I've got to think of this myself and put money aside because I don't have a partner. Hence the egg freezing, hence the like getting endo surgery and making sure that my body's okay.
It's ready, yeah.
Yeah, it costs a lot. So anyone who's listening and thinking about that as a single parent as well, the earlier you can think about that, the better. But then I hate talking about the biological clock and that effect, but it is a real situation for any gender, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very tricky at the moment with the average age someone who's buying a house is increasing, and the average age of all these things are kind of increasing, which makes it very difficult if you're someone who's had in your mind, you want to buy a house first, you want to like have your mortgage kind of paid down, you want to have this savings account or whatever it happens to be. But I saw a finance file, one of my ones recently, and someone was, I think they're 26, and they've been putting like $5 a week or $20 a week into a baby fund for
it adds up
sometime in the future. Yeah, and I thought that was a great idea. And some of the comments were a little bit not the friendliest. One of them was like, well, what's the point? What are you going to pay for with $20 a week? And I was like, but that's like a great start. Like imagine having a few $1,000s that you weren't going to have otherwise.
Oh, God forbid you had zero. Like, I don't understand that.
Yes.
Like people are always like, oh, what's the point of $5? It's like, it's better than zero, right? You're actually thinking ahead and you
can increase it. Like if you get closer to that time, because I think this couple, they weren't planning on having kids anytime soon, but it's great that if they're starting now and if they start thinking about it more seriously, then they might increase that to $50 or $100 a week or whatever it happens to be. But I think, even if you're putting something aside, and it doesn't matter if you change your mind and you use that money for something else in the future, at least you've got it there.
And that compounds. I saw online someone saying the same thing, but doing it for plastic surgery, like putting money aside for a future fund.
This is a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation, but yeah.
Do we go into it now?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
I have been deep diving into companies that help you get your super out earlier for cosmetic surgery.
Oh yeah, wild.
And they are targeting people who want hair loss transplants or hair transplants. And they're saying like, we can help you get your super out for that. And they just charge a nice fee of $800 because it's something that you can do for free.
You can do it for free. I was just going to say that because when I had endo surgery, I remember going to the doctor's office. At that time, I didn't have PR yet. So I didn't have Medicare. And they were like, we can take money out of your super. And here's it was $700 at the time, I remember.
Wait, they were telling you at the GP surgery?
This was the private doctor who did my endo surgery.
The private doctor was offering for you to pay to get your super out?
Yeah. Not them, but a company that does it. So I got the pamphlet.
They shouldn't give you the pamphlet at the doctor's.
So yeah, that's what happened. I went to the private doctor and he's like, all right, well, we're going to schedule in for surgery. It's going to cost, I think at the time it was like $12,000 or $13,000. And he's like, oh, if you don't have that right now, you can access your super. Here's the pamphlet. This is the company that does it for you. It was like $700.
They should not be advertising the company that does it. They should be like giving you the government pamphlet that lets you do it for free. Like a whole conversation whether or not you take it out, like removing that debate aside, like they should not be giving you the private company that makes you pay for it.
Yeah. And I did like this huge dive into how much it costs, that you can do it by yourself. If you took out that $12,000 out of your super, what that would be in compounding. Like I think at that time, that was actually what motivated me to start blogging about finances. Because I was like, what a ripoff. And I'm financially literate. I'm not even from this country. You know what? Or I mean, I'm now an Australian citizen.
Yes.
But at the time I didn't know. So you're navigating a whole new financial industry. Anyways, yeah, it's such a scam out there. You can do this by yourself. It's a whole other conversation whether you do that for surgery and what type of surgery.
And we'll leave that for another one. We'll leave that for another day. The controversy of it. But yeah, beware if you're thinking about this, because I have seen it pop up more and more on TikTok. And even I was reading Reddit like threads as well, and people were saying it's like there are forms, but it's fairly easy to do by yourself.
Yeah.
Just online. And the ATO is quite helpful.
Like I could just imagine there's going to be a company that comes out and be like, we will pull out your first home super saver thing.
Oh my God.
Like, could you imagine? Like it's literally you filling out a form.
I cannot believe like the doctors are giving you the private company instead of just saying, hey, here's like a step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. Like these companies don't need to exist.
Privatization of everything.
It doesn't need to be. So you don't need to pay $700 to do it.
Yeah. So anyways, be vigilant.
Bring back I don't know. Why have we made boldness something that men need to go and change? Like why have we made all these issues something that we need to go and change? Why are we spending money on this? Like I don't want to dive too much into this because I know people will have thoughts and feelings, but part of me is just like, why are we spending so much money on this kind of stuff so quickly and so urgently at the detriment of our financial future?
Because it's easier to create problems and then sell the answers to those problems because that's how people profit, right? At the end of the day. So I think it comes back to knowing your values, knowing what's important. Like we've talked about this. I'm getting older. I have gray hairs and I've purposely decided not to dye my gray hair because I don't want to play into the whole thing. I know that research shows that women who take the time to look good, who dye their hair, who wear makeup, have better job opportunities, have better, get better pay, get put for promotion more. Like research shows that we have these biases in play, but it also, and I'm speaking from a place of privilege, a woman who is white, who is straight performing, like, I have these opportunities, but also like it is radical to be like, I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to play into these standards. So if you know your values, then you can also put your money towards
Bring back the silver fox, but for women.
Yeah, I want to be a silver fox.
Okay, this is fun. Thanks for joining us on this random episode that's gone full circle, but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks all.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Ana Cristina.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Ana Cristina from Perla. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you. This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.